production has as its central principle the idea of the production taking place inside projections. So the projections, video projections, happen at the back, on different layers, on the front of the set, across the whole set. Sometimes the projections are the thoughts that the characters are having, sometimes it's the scenery, but the sense of being caught in the middle of a projection is the heart of the production. That is to say, the production is almost set inside the center of a camera, where you have light coming through the lens, inverting, and hitting the screen or the piece of film at the back of the camera. And it's as if we in the audience are watching the workings, the making of sense inside the black box of a camera. When I started working on the opera, I was interested in the fact that it had the wild animals that Tamino transforms and the snake that chases Tamino. But as I worked on it, I understood, in fact, it's a much different opera, that really its themes have to do with the questions around the Enlightenment, with the idea of lightness and light dispelling ignorance, which is not a very simple idea, not a very clear one in the light of what's happened in the world. So it's a critical look at the possibilities and limits of the Enlightenment. There's a triad, or there's maybe four elements that work together. You have the stage, you have the orchestra, and the singers, obviously, and the projections. And it's finding a balance between all of them, so that if you have a singer singing, you don't have projections that are so strong that everybody just watches the projection behind and ignores the singer in front. And one has to work that the movement of the projections and the singers work together, which means that early on I have to know the tempi, the approach towards the music of the conductor, even though the orchestra obviously only arrives at the end. So the whole opera takes 18 months to make. So there's 17 months of working in the studio on my own or with the lighting designer, the costume designer, the collaborators. And then that's in Johannesburg, and then a month in the rehearsal, or 6 weeks in the rehearsal room at the opera, and then a week on stage with the orchestra finally fine-tuning. La Scala is both wonderful and terrifying. There's a huge reputation and history of astonishing singing and productions and music making in this house. So there's a kind of a sense that there'll be a very knowledgeable audience. And it's an opera that's wonderfully strange, but I think it's got things in it that none of the other Mozart operas have. So there's some anxiety about how it fits into the expectations of the house and the audience of the house. From my side, I kind of expect it musically to be at the very highest level. I'm hoping that this will be our finest cast musically, and the orchestra is a wonderful orchestra. So I hope that both my expectations are met of how extraordinary it will be musically, and I hope the audience's expectations are met that it will be a very interesting kind of production for them to see too.